Okay, we're recording. Hello, hello. Jonathan's podcast number 6 with Phillip, my dear friend, brother in Christ, Vision team member,
Mm, mm,
aspiring assistant of an anesthesiologist,
mm. Wow.
keyboard enthusiast.
Mm.
What's up? How are you?
Um, I'm doing all right. I'm just been getting through the summer. It's been a weird summer.
I
I haven't been
bet.
doing too much. But I'm gonna start working at 85 again,
Okay,
maybe next week or so.
okay. The one on Bel Air.
No, the one on Sugarland. I kind of
Oh,
asked them too late. So they hired a couple of people, a couple of bakers, so they don't really have any openings, but Sugarland does. So I'm gonna work there
so you'll
because
you'll
I'm just trying
be.
to work.
Oh, all right.
I'll be pretty near you, huh?
Yeah.
I can just swing over, come over.
Yeah, maybe. Cool, cool. All right, let's get into it. Oh,
Yes.
Intervarsity. This is year 4 for each of us. Wow,
Mm-hmm.
crazy. Oh wait, oh man, you weren't here when Angela was doing icebreakers with us. He was asking. He was like, man. Anyways, so off topic.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, in regards to InterVarsity, we know it's a multi-ethnic um, parachurch ministry. The branch is
Interdenominational.
multi-denominational. Yes, yes. Thank you.
No, interdenominational.
Interdenominational.
Yes.
I guess that's the right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you for correcting. Yeah. Um, what was I saying? Multi-ethnic. There we go. And within multi-ethnic, there is us, Asian Americans. We are in a multi-ethnic chapter at UHID. There's a few branching ethnic-specific ones, um, but we're here today to talk about AA. What's it like been for us? Um, yeah, have there been spaces? Talk about AA stuff. Um, yeah, I guess. Yeah. So I just wanted to say to like start off. A big part of the reason why I started this podcast is to be able to talk about AA things with other IB people. I've gotten I guess just only one non-IB person, but I think maybe you can attest to this too. Like, there's like this general air of like trying to not do AA events because we are mainly AA demographically, and it like
Mm.
goes against this feeling of, oh, we're multi-ethnic, we're gonna be like all inclusive. Um, but the reality of that is our demographic just doesn't reflect that.
Yeah. I would say it kind of happened, from my recollection, it's kind of starting to go away. But back when J-Tran was staff at UH or staffing UH, he kind of started this UHIV chapter, and it grew. Like, there was a lot of fruit from it. It became like a triple digit chapter. And I would say at that point it was pretty multi-ethnic. There was a lot of ethnic diversity in the group. Um, and as things kind of went by, it was just very easy for um, Asian Asian ethnicities to invite their Asian friends, and that kind of always happens. Interestingly enough, um, while it was kind of more of a struggle to outreach for other ethnicities. It's kind of like we were outreaching other ethnicities, but a lot of Asian ethnicities were kind of coming into the chapter through friendship, if that makes sense. More so. Like I'm sure there were still um like friendship or people who came into the chapter through friendships that weren't Asian, but it was largely like that's kind of how the culture goes. It's oh, you know, we're kind of like this a home away from home or stuff like that, and I think that's kind of how it happened. And as that kind of starts, how that it starts to shift like the ethnicity of the group, especially if outreaching is particularly hard some school years or semesters, and there's not really any um, like people who new people who check out Ivy don't really stay, then in the end, what you end up with is just a lot more new Asian um, ethnicity members, and that kind of just like expounds on itself. To eventually, we kind of see that mainly the group is um, Asian American. And that's kind of how it happened, and that brings about the idea of like staff really wanted uh like I think it started maybe from J-Tran, but he really saw and had this vision of a multi-ethnic group, right? I mean it kind of happened too. um yeah, so then like with the majority Asian American group, the question that the elephant in the room is like, yo, you know, like we should just change to an Asian American chapter. And I think there was such a big group of South Asian Americans that it was a little too much for Theo later to handle with all the responsibilities. So they're kind of like, oh, let's just make a small group that kind of became its own chapter through Harvest, because there were just so many people, so many South Asian Americans. Um, and yeah, that was a really big question, because I think, especially for Asian Americans, I guess, yeah, they really value the community and kind of like the own, like their own Asian community. So it was kind of unsettling, or there was a lot of tension with like, oh, but we still want to try to be multi-ethnic, but like a lot of the things, the actions we do and how we converse is like so Asian. Yeah, like you see it through worship, how like it's mainly a specific type of worship through musical worship, but even like prayers, um, all types of worship. There's just this Asian feeling, and so like that kind of really makes it difficult. And I think that's kind of what we saw. And yeah, there was a lot of fallout from that, both in Harvest, the South Asian group, but also in I guess the more general UHIV, with like some Asian American members like saying, hey, you know, this is what the group is now, the majority, like we should change. And like, why are we only listening to this one staff's vision if like we're the group, right? Like the staff should be caring for the group. And so that, yeah, there's a lot of tension there too. And I think for a certain number of members, then it's like, okay, you know, this group isn't for me. Like what I want is the Asian American community. So I'm just gonna find that elsewhere. That's kind of what happened. There's um, a lot of, I guess, internal conflict, whether it was like said or unsaid, and as well as probably definitely like other variables. It wasn't, I think, as simple as that. But I guess I'm just trying to keep that as simplified as possible. Um, yeah, hopefully that doesn't make anyone feel unseen or unheard. And because of that, I think Ivy really struggled as well. And now it's kind of like more towards the building process, still with like the vision of like multi-ethnicity. I think personally for me, I was like definitely like, why? You know, like we might as well have been. I personally would have been like, yo, that's kind of what I wanted going into college. Is like, oh, I just want to chill with some like, I guess more for me, more specifically East Asian or Chinese American brothers and sisters. And so I was like, why is this still? Why are we trying to be multi-ethnic when like a lot of the people who are saying that like would rather prefer Asian American, you know? So like for me, I was looking at it like, you ain't genuine, so like, what's the point, you know? And then I think going through maybe the San Antonio urban program or other things, I kind of saw the beauty in multi-ethnicity, and I was like, okay, I can vibe with that. Like I think that's pretty cool, and I can see why that it is significant, and why like we should try for that versus just like going with only, you know, say focusing on Asian American stuff. Um, yeah, that was kind of my personal journey, and I think like both are needed. Like I think another part of the conflict there was like, oh, I just only want Asian American like culture, or I only want multi ethnicity. When I think like both are possible. Like just like wanting multi ethnicity is probably more like of a, you need to put more effort there. I kind of feel, at least personally, with like caring, making sure each group is like included, and for that environment to be inclusive. Um, but both are really beautiful, and yeah, I think both can coexist, and that's kind of like, I think the goal now is like what we're trying to do is include both having this multi-ethnic community and environment while still each ethnicity or ethnic group having their own communities to be. um, yeah, I think that's kind of healthy, and just trying to navigate that is like what's kind of going on now. And then I guess going more towards your question of like uh, how we're doing it now, I think like, yeah, specifically for East Asian American contexts is like even this podcast and like the people you're having the podcast with. um, I think I haven't been really listening to the podcast. But also, yeah, I would say like because of the history in the past, like it did take some time to navigate. Like, oh, it's okay to want an Asian American community and not feel like, oh, I'm choosing that side. Um, and so it's probably the main ethnic group out of like say um, Black Student Ministry or Lafay, and even like C, Southeast Asian, that Jeremy's heading. It was kind of like, so how do we navigate it? How do we do this now? And so it took some time to even recognize, oh, this is like difficult now, and then like going towards that. Um, I think we're still learning from that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Definitely one of the most exciting things I think was it the anticipation for Asian Pacific American Heritage Month, for like doing something earlier, like in
With
March or
yeah,
this
we're gonna do something with the office CDI, Center for Diversity and Inclusion.
inclusion. Yeah, man. Like I felt like there's
And then COVID hit.
yeah so much more. Although we still needed to have plan a lot, I think.
Hmm?
Right.
Yeah, it, it was very poorly planned as it was.
Oh, okay. It's like, oh wait, I don't know if I should say it. But like, to be fair, I think the other party was not
Yeah,
the most fun to work with.
yeah,
Oh,
I'm sure they had their things going on.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm like really interested now, I guess, in seeing what these AA specific intervarsities look like. Um, I have exposure of sorts to like my sister through Epic
Mm.
and her stuff. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. We haven't talked too much about specific culture things that they do as a fellowship. They definitely do stuff like together as like a hangout that's like not like Epic affiliated, but like with Epic people. I think they like play mahjong, make
Mm.
dumplings, that kind of stuff.
Mm.
Um, and like feel like I've seen like boba, milk tea, like NSO events and stuff. I guess we kind of did something, but that wasn't. That was more just like a fundraiser for something. What? Record? Yeah.
I think personally something that I was kind of thinking about was I know that Alexis is still trying to start Epic at UH. And I was just trying to see in what ways, like maybe I or parts of Ivy could help with them kind of growing, because they're like a fetus stage right now. Just trying maybe to start with a small group or something. I was just thinking like in what ways we could, like, I forget the term, like collaborate or help each other. Um, and how, because I think I just thought of that as like a very easy way to already have a space for Asian Americans. But yeah, there is like the difficulties of like, oh, then like would people feel like they have to choose one fellowship or a ministry? I was just thinking it would be cool if like, yeah. So that was just one thing that I was thinking about for having Asian American space. But yeah, I think with NSO planning and all that other jazz, it hasn't been at the forefront of my head, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, I mean, everything looks different now, and I can't even imagine what it would be like to be in Alexis's shoes, trying to start it up uh, from the ground up, and you basically
Yeah.
have to do everything online. Like I don't even know how much support she's getting from Pro and Epic leadership, Epic staff.
Well, I think
Yeah.
that's a cool thing, right? Epic isn't really staffed. It's definitely like the most student-led ministry out of like say the other campus ministries. Like I think if you look at like
True.
RUF or BSM, um, or even like I forget the Catholic CSO or all those other ministries. Like there's definitely like staff or at least some kind of funding and resource um, thing structure there. While I'll say Epic is definitely much more out in the open, free. Um, you kind of like you take your initiative and go with it. I might not be right there, but that's the feeling that I've gotten about Epic. Um,
Right. Yeah. Wait, so like are you unsure at the moment if that's intentional or not?
with like it being student
With
run for Epic.
Epic, yeah. Like,
No, I
yeah.
think that's very intentional.
Okay.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. I guess off the top of my head, like I see them become I guess more important as like speakers and
More what?
especially with the staff becoming more important as like speakers for their large groups or whatever. Or
Mm.
like hosting retreats and conferences. I don't think students organize those. Maybe they do. Maybe retreats, but
I think
yeah.
I will say that from my perspective, like what one positive consequence is that like the 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 chapter members, or yeah, the members of the org are much closer together. Whether it is because they bear burdens together or they go through hardships together, but yeah, I like looking at say like Epic at UT and stuff like that. Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I should say this, but my sister at A&M at Epic,
What?
there's
Got
quite
some
a
juice?
few there's quite a few people that don't really know each other, and it's like she's they're they're doing summer small groups too, um,
Mm.
and sometimes it can be very very difficult.
Mm.
But like yeah, like but I can see your point, like especially for those on leadership, like, they have to rely on one another so much more. Man, I wonder who pours into like the top leadership people, or they do kind of have that kind of power hierarchy structure.
I
From
know
like,
that there is like I think at least one Epic staff for like our region. Um, yeah, that checks up with each group at least like every month or so. But yeah, I don't think we know the specifics or the details.
true, true. Really interesting. Man, oh, I had an epic friend on. We didn't talk about that. Oh well, I'll find it
Hmm?
someone else to talk to. I think my fourth episode, Julia, she's at Epic at UTD.
Hmm.
Yes.
I think the Epic guys at UTV went to Rec Week.
Cool.
Yeah.
Did you go to the that Asian American retreat thing in the fall?
Yeah. Savor.
Savor, that's the name.
Mm-hmm.
How was that space?
It was really different, I would say. Um, I both felt seen, but also like an outsider. Because like that many Asian people in a room was like weird. Like I almost felt like I had to prove my own Asianness in some ways. So I thought it was both cool, but also like too much, if that makes sense. Um, yeah, it was quite interesting. Um, it was also interesting because I felt like you got different vibes from each chapter. Like
Mm,
you definitely felt different talking to someone from UT than you would at like someone from A&M or UTD. Um, but yeah, I thought that was interesting. Um, I thought it was really cool though. It definitely felt like an inclusive space, um, but it just simultaneously held like a lot of beautifulness in Asian culture, but also it had like maybe the like toxic parts or like some negative aspects of it as well. Um, yeah, I thought it was a really interesting view. Um, yeah.
could you speak more about like some of the toxic or some of the beautiful things too? So it's not always not just negative edge. Maybe we
I
could
think
branch
like
out
even
here.
with really little things like snacks and food, um, it's just like culturally Asian. like snacks and stuff. They had like boba
Sure.
tea, I think, the first night, or homemade boba.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and then yeah, there were a lot of yeah. They during like in some of the game rooms they had like mahjong as well, as well as other Asian games, I guess you would say. Um, the worship was the good old um, contemporary Christian music, but also like there's like Korean um, worship songs, as well as I think there's some other cultures as well, I believe. Um, yeah, yeah. Those are what I can remember off the top of my head. Yeah.
Yeah. Thinking about snacks. Yeah. Well, that just makes me also think about like how people who are unfamiliar with some of our food just not even try some of it. Because like
Mm,
I remember our first year at Rec Week, I was in the small group track, and they sent like an email. It's like, oh, bring a snack to share with people. And I was
mm,
like, oh, okay. I think I think it was with Kevin. Yeah, we went to like Well Fresh, just
mm,
any Asian supermarket. And I thought it would be a great idea to bring dried squid. And
mm.
then once I buy that and I go there and I'm like I felt really uncomfortable sharing it. So I ended
Yeah.
up not bringing it out and like sharing it.
Oh.
Even though there was a good amount of like Asian people at my like group. I don't know.
Mm.
I mean, maybe I'm
They didn't
shame.
feel Asian enough, Johnny.
I
Was it because like their snacks were not as
oh
Asian?
yeah. Someone like brought Oreos. Someone brought maybe shrimp chips. Which I feel like it's more like acceptable.
Appropriate.
uh, eh, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. I don't know. I don't know why.
That's
I
interesting.
really. Yeah. So then I ended up trying to eat it all by myself. Oh,
Hmm.
sad. Okay. Nice little anecdote. Um, let's talk about our churches. So, go to
Mm.
HCA, Houston
Okay. Okay.
Christian Assembly. I
Mm-hmm.
go
Mm-hmm.
to SWCBC, Southwest Chinese Baptist Church.
Mm.
Um, different places. Um,
Yeah.
but both of them have a lot of Asian people. So
Mm-hmm.
let's talk about it. Well, I guess like the first big thing is like difference in the name. Not specifically like the church assembly part. I don't know if we'll get into that today. Maybe if you want to. But like your acronym obviously does not have like any ethnic uh, designation in there.
Or
Yeah.
denomination.
Or denomination, you're right.
Did you want me to talk
Yeah, can you
more into
sorry,
that?
can you speak about that?
Yeah. I think um, we had a founding brother come speak to the, I guess, college group or young adult group, because I think a lot of people had questions about it, especially in that age group of like why HCA gathers, like what is our, I guess, theology, or yeah, kind of like what do we believe in specifically. Um, because a lot of us, I would say, like grew up into the church, and this is just like what we accepted because our parents accepted it, and a lot of our friends are here. um it feels like family, and so it's like family can't be wrong can it? And I think that's like the question is like, then, we go through college and there's like college ministries or just other like ideals and things like that that might challenge or like rub against maybe what we hear at HCA. But I would say HCA purposefully is non-denominational, wanting to focus on Christianity as a whole, or just Christianity, which I think it depends on the person if you feel like that's acceptable or not. Um, I personally would say like there are it's more conservative leaning, kind of like Baptist minded, but I don't think like anyone would say that we are Baptist per se. Um, and yeah, we are definitely like majority Asian, but there's also a Caucasian like portion, because I think a lot of the roots to HCA had a lot of influence from white brothers and sisters. Um, yeah, funny thing, I didn't even know. I was just looking through the transcript. Um, but we had two locations. There's one on Dumble, which is near UH actually, because a lot of HCA started from um, Asian, I think mainly Chinese immigrants, Chinese brothers and sisters who came to the US and went to UH and kind of gathered together nearby. And so like I think Dumble was like definitely like it might have been the first area location for HCA. And but Dumble was actually owned by Caucasian brothers and sisters in a different specific Christian denomination. I don't think he mentioned which one, but they're kind of old, and so as their numbers started to dwindle because of just how, because of age, they were like wondering what to do with the building, and so rather than give it back to the group they were part of, they actually deeded it to the brothers at HCA because I think they just had formed a really close relationship with each other and care for us. And so I think that definitely was like very significant. And I think also later our second location um, had a lot of support from a particular family. But anyways, yeah, I think it's more like we don't want to be specifically Asian American, but once again, because of our communities and our culture, we draw in mainly Asian friends or stuff like that. Like it's like because I think because of the culture, it reflects in like how we want to share the gospel. We think of like friends and family, and that usually is Asian, I guess. But also like there have been like coworkers and other friends that people have brought to HCA, and I think some have stayed, but also like other people are like, this is a little too Asian for me, not my kind of jam, and haven't really, they haven't stayed. Um, so it's kind of like that feeling. Um, yeah.
Cool. We could talk a bit about SW. I'm not 100% sure about the roots of the church. I should do more research about that. I do
Especially if you're going to be
know.
a building block,
Don't know
a
who said
builder.
that. No
Uh,
one. Isaac Ho, go away. Anyways, I know they started sometime as a small group at like Westbury Baptist Church, um, and they would use part of their building until they bought and built the land we're on somewhere in the 90s, mid to late 90s. Yeah, and basically our church started with a bunch of Cantonese speaking first gen immigrants uh, that were looking for other people like themselves.
Mm.
So our congregation today is mostly Cantonese speaking. Um, yeah, we're still serving like first gen immigrants, um, but we've expanded our ministry and work to Mandarin speakers. So that part of the congregation is growing, I think, a lot more than the Cantonese side. I feel like at this point, like it's slowing down. Maybe more people will come to America with the tensions in Hong Kong. But that's not a good thing. Yikes.
Okay.
Yeah. There is a small English speaking portion. Uh, Most of them in it are bilingual. Although not all of them are like fluent in their Asian Chinese language. um, yeah, and it's quite interesting. We actually had like non-Asian families, but that's all past tense. They've once we hit like a critical juncture in our church's history where we're like looking to see like how to expand. Once they saw that we were basically expanding into the Mandarin side and like I guess not as much focus in the English side of things. We had some like Caucasian families leave. Um, yeah, so now it's almost 100% Asian. Um, there's like these two brothers from like I forget which country, somewhere in Central America, that come to our English congregation and service sometimes. That's pretty cool. I mean, yeah, we hang out with them. They eat with us. It's good. I don't know how deeply rooted that relationship is, but yeah. And then in terms of our Baptist side, yeah, I would have to do more research about that. But I mean, I would assume like since they started Westbury Baptist Church, like a lot of their theology and doctrine comes from that. Um, but yeah, I guess this is a good point of like self-reflection. Like, how we got here? I just kind of like assume like Southern Baptist is like it's in the South. It's like a big, but there's also a lot of other churches nearby, other denominations. Yeah. What is it? We have a Indian church right next to us. I don't know what denomination they are. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool. We actually let them use our gym once to host a basketball tournament. Yeah. Did I have a follow-up question? I had something, but now it's gone.
That's okay.
I'm so sad. Oh well, that's fine. Okay. Cool. So let's go into you and China.
Yeah, these transitions.
They're not there, but it's okay. Bro, you gotta, I'm still learning and growing. I'll always be learning and growing. Anyways, you dating China, I'm interested in the
Mm.
ethnic dynamics. What? She's Korean, you're Chinese. Talked a little bit before. Um, but yeah, let the people know.
Yeah. Um, my girlfriend's name is Changna. She is Korean American. I would say so. Um, she's, I guess, technically an international student since she's on a visa. Um, and her family's back in Korea. Um, I'm Chinese American. My my direct family has settled in the U.S. Both my parents got a green card, or came through student visa, then got a green card, and then I think they both have been nationalized in the past couple of years. Um, so I guess more American than Chinese, at least for me. Um, but there hasn't been too much culture shock or uh, yeah, any of that. I think because my mom uh, admires how the zeal Korean Christians have, whether it is like the early morning prayers or just um, how they how they worship, I guess. I think she just seen examples, maybe through WeChat or something, and she's like, "Oh, they're all right," something like that. Um, and so, yeah, there hasn't been really anything from my parents, and I think me and Chungna and I don't really have any issues that have occurred. I think generally the ideals of both our cultures and our personalities mix and mesh pretty well. Um, yeah, there might be like some specific Chinese thing or Korean thing, and we'll just like explain it if it comes up and the other person doesn't really understand. But there isn't too much, um, I would say. Yeah, and then her parents were like cool with it because I think her dad was like Chinese guys are better boyfriends than Korean guys, which I found pretty humorous. Um, but yeah, um, I don't think there is that much else culture wise. Um, yeah.
Cool. Have you met? I mean, I guess talked to them, her parents.
No,
No.
no.
Oh, okay.
They're in Korea, it's yeah.
Well, like
We'll get there when we get there, Johnny.
we have the magic of Zoom.
Unfortunately, the time zones are just so difficult,
You can ask Graham
um,
about it.
it'll happen someday, I'm sure. Just not yet. She's met my
Yeah.
parents though. She's come over for dinner before.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. I'm interested in this. Not for you, but yeah, my sister, right? She dated a Vietnamese guy, and
Do you have her permission to be talking about her?
it's like public knowledge.
It's common knowledge.
It's the
Okay, okay,
past.
okay,
It's the
okay.
past.
So,
I have to be able to
so
talk
I
about
can
these
talk
things.
about all the things in your past, Johnny. Is it
If
all
you
common
want,
knowledge?
if you want,
Hmm. Hmm.
go for it. I mean,
Shall we go to the? Never mind.
like I don't. Oh my gosh, this came up in Jamie's podcast too.
Oh, really?
Like I don't I don't really
I'm
mind,
surprised.
but like within the space of the podcast, like I don't envision this as the space for that.
Hmm. Hmm.
But
Hmm.
somewhere else, probably fine.
Hmm.
Anyways,
Sorry. Keep going.
okay, yeah, her Vietnamese boyfriend, my sister, or ex. Um, Parents don't like Chinese people. I'm Chinese American. He's been he is Vietnamese American. The ex. Um, that was pretty clear. There was also like that tension between like Catholic and Baptist.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, that's. um, but like I don't know. It was interesting seeing like the journey between them and the parents and like seeing each other as like humans. Sounds so weird. And trying to understand each other. Like I think my sister was making pretty good progress with his mom. who They broke up, and it's like, yeah, okay. And like my dad liked him pretty
Hmm.
well. Yeah, but I don't know. This is like a nice segue. Uh, have you and your parents ever like talked about you
Who I'm
dating
able
and
to date?
marrying like a different race?
Um, Not really. I think I think it's just a common like, oh, Asian is good, white's fine, black or I guess Hispanic is not preferred. I think that's the feeling, but I might just be putting words in their mouth. I mean, they haven't really explicitly said anything, you know? It's just kind of like, oh, it seems like you're okay. Um, or no, what I mean is like your preferences are acceptable or
Oh,
something like
okay.
that. That makes sense. Um, yeah, but I don't know. My mom definitely has given me a lot of freedoms that are not typical to other Asian Asian uh children, I guess. Like
Mhm.
I don't really have a curfew. I think we've built a pretty good level of trust. Um, she just like, don't be dumb. Like I trust that you will not do anything stupid, because if you do, I'm gonna beat you. You know, not beat you, but like, yeah. And so yeah, like curfew, there aren't really any curfews. Um, just yeah, do the right thing, kind of basically. And so I guess like if I did end up like dating someone, dating like say some a Hispanic girl or something like that, um, I don't think she. I think she would just keep it to herself, if that makes sense. I'm not sure. I think like my sister and my parents don't say what they really feel until I've broken up with that person, because they don't want to say anything negative, but want to support me in my pursuits. If that makes sense. So I guess you could say that's
Yeah.
disingenuous, or not genuine, or
Yeah.
not authentic. But yeah, that's kind of what I found. So there's that kind of feeling.
Cool.
It might be, I might be wrong. It might be completely different, but I haven't had it's never come to that. So
Okay. Cool. Yeah, like with
what
my
about you?
parents and we've had this explicit conversation several
Oh, baby.
times. I mean, there's like a general acceptance of like it's like your choice if you know I hope you love them, right? Like
Mm.
but with like your tiering, like I think it's similar.
My
um
tear.
I um I think my mom is much more open-minded. I don't know, sometimes she's a mystery. But
Mm.
anyways, that's
I'm
another
tall
topic.
woman.
That is true. That is
Oh, you weren't
true.
supposed to agree. Um,
Why? Because opinions can hurt people. Anyway,
yeah, they can.
grow up, get a
Mm.
thick skin. Anyways,
I'm
but
not suited for the business world.
my dad, he definitely has a bit more racist tendencies.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
I mean, we've literally straight out called him racist, and I don't know. He just kind of like diffuses the situation.
Ah, what a
It
great
like kind of just
businessman.
goes over his head. It's not like he's even like trying to. He just like I don't
Oh,
want to call him
that's the worst.
slow, but like sometimes it's like I thought like I said it clearly enough where like both my sister and my mom like understand, but then like sometimes he just kind of like has the what's it tunnel vision, and like if he has a point, he'll just like beat it to death. But yeah, I don't know like what it is about. Well, specifically with like black people, I would say.
Hmm.
It's like I wonder if it's his like childhood in Queens in New York.
Oh, I
Um,
didn't know he was from New York or
yeah,
grew up in New York.
he grew up there from like 8 or 9 through adulthood, and then he left, came to here 18, 19 in Houston. Um, yeah, so he's had a lot of like bad experiences with black people, a lot of racism he has felt, and he's always told me like he would just kind of like uh, he called it like just like doing the Asian thing of like being passive and just like kind of ignoring it and just like dealing with it and living for tomorrow, I guess. Um, I don't know. That's just me guessing at why. Um, and then like goodness, I can't imagine the reaction if my grandma knew I was dating a black person. I honestly think she might have a heart attack or something. It's like I
That bad.
actually like we talked about it sort of like at least once before. Um, and like her face would just like if I said I guess it was like maybe I was testing her, I don't know. But like
Ah, you're trolling her, weren't you?
I was like, what if I brought home a black? And she would just be like, what? No, no.
Mm,
And I was just
mm.
like, oh, yeah. But it's interesting with like Hispanic Latinx because my cousin he married a Hispanic girl. So that muddies things. So I
Hmm.
mean like
Was it
I'm
not well
actually
received?
no, it was fine. I don't know. It's like somehow maybe there's like this cognitive dissonance, or I don't know what the technical word would be. But they would just kind of like compartmentalize like all the stereotypes and whatnot, and then like just see her as like
So they
this
made it
nice
acceptable
girl.
only because of her, or yeah, her as a person or something.
I guess there's still like from my dad. You could either interpret it as like racist jokes, or like he's just trying to be social. I don't know. Some of them I'm like, yeah, you could say it, and like she plays along and she like kind of like does that like nervous chuckle thing, and it's just like, oh, but okay, yeah, yeah, that would actually be really cool to talk to my cousin and his wife. Oh yeah, no, well, yeah, they're married. About that, because I have not. We just kind of like, well, for the most part, act as if race isn't too much of a thing. But cool. Interesting stuff. Interesting. Oh, okay. Topic change. Gaming. You're a gamer.
I forgot this was one of the topics.
It is. Yeah. It's a big part of our culture now. Maybe. Such a new thing. I have a really funny story about gaming. I don't know if it's that funny. It's actually maybe more sad. Maybe I've told it before.
Okay.
But like, I was on vacation with my grandma and aunts up in New York. I don't think it was Queens. It was somewhere else. But we were like staying with relatives. I was like 5 or 6. And like one of my second cousins, she was just like playing Barbie or something on a laptop. Yeah.
So you were into Barbie?
No, that's not the story.
Oh.
So then like I would just like kind of just sit there. Like I was like a super quiet kid. Didn't really do much. Wasn't exposed to much. Anyways, and then like she played, and then afterwards she's like, "Oh, you can go play whatever you want." I think it was just like some internet browser thing. And then she left to do something, and I just kind of like sat there and I stared, because I didn't know what the internet was. I didn't know like how to like what's the keyboard, like I didn't know any gaming sites. I was like, what is this?
That is the apple to the tree.
I was like, so I literally just sat there until like her parents like came in or something. He's like, oh, and, like they're like, oh, are you playing Barbie? I was like, I don't know what to play. And like, yeah, I would kind of have this general sheltered video game context for the rest of my life, I guess. I mean, not really so now, but like, I'm at a point where I don't know. I either can't get interested, or I just don't care enough to check it out in the first place. I guess that's the same thing. I do play some other games. But yeah, curious about you. How did you grow up with games? Any like Asian American stereotypes? Are there any? I don't know about games.
I think so. I think the main ones are we never had money for consoles, so it would mainly just be Nintendo products. Maybe the PSP, from my recollection. But I think most Asian people, I might be wrong, but I think most Asian people either play PC games or a Nintendo product, but never like PlayStation or Xbox. I might be wrong in that, but I just know that like I would never have dared to ask for like a console to play, because like the pure thing for it is like games, and like that's like the main no for me from my parents.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
it was also because it was expensive, so it's like it just I think it was just ridiculous to my parents. It's like it costs a lot of money. You can't do anything on it except for playing games, and like games cost additional to the console. Like I think from my parental perspective, that was like ridiculous. So like for me, I grew up with um, PC, I guess like website games, online games. Actually, my dad was really into tower defenses. So he would come home from work and then put me on his lap, and we would play like a tower defense together. Um, but in
Wow.
reality, I was too young to really know like play the game. So he would just play the game and I would watch. So that was pretty funny. Um, so I started off playing like some Flash website Flash games like mofunzone.com, Congregate, Armor Games. Played there. I played mofunzone before it changed. I think nowadays it looks really different than what it used to be. Um, yeah, and then I ended up playing Maple Story. Um, I think like I played a little bit of Dragon Fable, but never I didn't get into as much as say like you did or others. I never had like that $20 like pass thingy that made you godlike.
I didn't buy that. But okay.
Um, let's see. And then I played Maple Story and occasionally Age of Empires 2. That is still the GOAT. I'll play with some friends through LAN, and yeah, it was fun like doing Big Mama or something for the cheat codes, or like pepperoni pizza, something for food. Um, yeah. So I mainly played Maple Story until, and then after that, the same friends I played with got me into League, and I started playing League. And so after a while, I think we got hacked in Maple, and we lost like all our valued possessions in the game. It was actually pretty considerable, but yeah, after we lost that, we were just like done with it. Also, Maple Story in NA is like trash with like servers. Um, it's pretty terrible, but it's still like so iconic to me. Like just the 2D, like even the damage and the abilities. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Um, and so after that, I just played League until recently. I've started to play Valorant. Um, I'm not that good with first-person shooters. Oh, I also play TFT, Teamfight Tactics, because those are some recent developments by Riot Games, the owner of League as well, or maker of League. I think it's pretty cool what they started to do. They just had a lot of different game projects, and I think they all work together pretty nicely. Um, I like the vision behind it. Yeah, that's kind of how gaming was for me. My sister knew that I wanted a console, so she saved up some money and found a Wii off Craigslist. But a Wii wasn't really what I had in mind for a console, so I never really played it as much as I think I felt obligated to because she had spent some money on it for me. Um, I mainly played Wii Sports and got like the pro rating for like tennis and stuff. Well, most of the sports I would say. I don't think I did on bowling. Um, but yeah. Oh, she got me Brawl though, but I'm not that good at Brawl. I didn't. I think back then I was still pretty young. So yeah. Now the Wii's just gathering dust. Yeah, that's kind of how it's been with gaming for me.
Interesting. Okay.
So I'd say for
That's
the most part, it's been League, and now it's been Valorant.
cool.
I
Okay.
think I played League for like 8 years.
Dang.
I started at the end of season 2, so now it's like season. I don't even know. I don't play League that much anymore though, but it's definitely been at least 6 years. It's pretty nuts.
Oh, well, we
How
have
about you,
Phillip's
Johnny?
gaming history. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So many avenues to go, but I will go through sort of the games I did too. Yeah, I think in beginning, I don't know when it all first started, but like, oh, I guess the very beginning would be like, oh, it's funny recalling this. Me playing on Adrian's Game Boy, Adrian Wall. Oh, it's so funny. We joke about it because like he had Pokemon Ruby, and I would just like play that. uh, so, um, oh, and then after, oh yeah, now I'm recalling some stuff. We got some like weird, I don't know if it's Chinese rip off like N64 type things.
Hmm.
I might have it still. You know, for like the I don't know what type of inputs. I mean, the like red, yellow, white thing. I don't know what that's called.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like
Those cables.
these like giant cartridges that you stick up the back of it. Oh
Mm-hmm.
man, those are something. I don't know what my dad got. And then, but then like I never really stuck with those. I just like kind of here and there when a friend came over, but
Mm-hmm.
quickly dropped it. Uh, then I think I got
Studious
introduced
kid.
to. I don't know about that. I mean, like, what is it? It's elementary school. I'm still in.
Mm.
Yeah. Um, there was. Well, I guess since we're on weird knockoff stuff, like my dad owned a gift shop, so much knockoff stuff. Like there's like a like PlayStation Portable, a knockoff one. I don't know if I played it, but I distinctly remember it. It was just like it was so plasticky. It looked so cheap.
Mm.
Oh my goodness. I don't know if I played on that or not,
I
but
remember I was really interested in PSPs. I thought they were so cool, especially with those um I forget the with like Cloud. He's a
Final
character.
Fantasy,
Yeah, Final Fantasy games. I thought those were really cool.
bro.
Sorry,
I
keep
had no
going.
exposure to that until I don't know, late high school. Anyways,
Hmm.
I think from there, yeah, I guess I did those like Flash mini games or whatever. I think for me it was like Crazy Monkey Games, Mini Clip, also those that math game website, whatever. And then from there went to the A Artix Entertainment Games. You mentioned Dragon Fable. I played like their big three, like the Adventure Quest, Dragon Fable
Hmm.
Mech, but like yeah, what was that? Oh, 07, 08 maybe. Played that for a little bit. I think I was free to play it all, which sucked on the
Yeah, but
Adventure
they're all
Quest.
gated. They're all pay gated.
Yeah, yeah. And then like AE released Adventure Quest Worlds in 2008. And then I started playing it in early '09. Yeah, in January. Um, played it a lot. That was my first exposure to RPG type game, and it was an MMORPG. Um, run by Flash. Oh yeah, my parents didn't let me download anything.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. Everything like I didn't own any electronics. So like
Mm-hmm.
I would have to always play on like the family laptop. And it would always be
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
password gated. So even if I wanted to, like I literally couldn't like try to get it on your level. um,
That
yeah.
happened to me too. Well, it's different. For me, at first, it was like you can't download because they feared I would download a virus. But then it was like I was like, okay, just one game, and that was Maple Story. And so I was able to download Maple Story. But I ended up playing so much of Maple. I think it was because some neighbor friends I think helped convince my parents. But I ended up playing so much because I just remember there would be days where my parents would go to like a Saturday morning, like gathering Christian thing, and so I would just wait until they would leave the house. I'll like stay in my bed, and then I'll hear them lock the door, and I'll get up and I'd open the blinds, and the AC will be running, but I wouldn't be really wearing that much clothing, and I was just like, oh, it's gamer time, and so I just like yeah, I just game on Maple until they came back like 2 hours later, and I'll quickly like shut off the computer, and I don't know, either go downstairs and act like I just woke up or something. But man, those were the days. And there's just something about like waiting until the parents leave and then waking up and then like, oh, this is the free time. Um, yeah. And then after eventually, I was like, man, it became noticeable that I was playing too much, so they changed the password and I couldn't play anymore. That was a shame. Yeah.
Interesting. I just remembered. Oh my goodness, a missing piece of my gaming.
Hmm?
This is
What?
so
What? What?
embarrassing. Oh no, am
Don't
I
hold
actually
yourself
gonna
out.
say this? All right. Okay. So
Yes, you will.
before, I think this was during the trifecta of the AE. Wait, no, it was before that. Yeah. So okay, I think so. This was after the Flash mini games.
Club
I
Penguin?
think no.
Neo? No,
I
no.
Neopet? No, I didn't.
No, my sister played Neopets. No, what was it called? Like you had to buy the pet to play online?
Oh, oh, shoot. Webkins?
Yeah, Webkins.
Webkins.
Did you do
Not.
that? Is that the embarrassing thing?
No, no.
Ah,
I mean, it's like similar. Maybe it's worse.
what?
It's Build a Bear. You know they have an
Oh,
online game.
they do? I did not
Yeah.
know that.
Oh my gosh. I think my sister she was like had a birthday and like we got her a Build a Bear and then so
Mm,
at the Build a Bear workshop at the mall, there's like computers there so you can like register your bear because
mm,
the game is like pretty hard locked if you don't have
I
bears.
see, I see. That makes sense.
Yeah. So do that and then like so we start playing it together but then it morphs into me basically playing most of it and I'm like
Mm,
finding like the optimal ways to earn money and stuff and like what are the best mini games to play. Oh my
mm.
gosh, I remember. Wow, that was something. Yeah, crazy. Anyways.
I I remember my sister played Neopets. There's this scarab shooter game that I played. But I forget the name of it. Ah,
for it? Okay.
I'm interested in it. I just remember I thought it was so fun. But yeah, Neopets was like just before my time.
Oh, did you ever get exposed to the GameCube?
Nope.
Uh,
I did not play Pokemon growing up because even like Nintendo products were not allowed.
so yeah, I didn't own a GameCube, but other church people did, and we played mainly Melee. That's some other. Oh, Mario Party was nice. People still play that. Good game. Good game. Let's see. My first console was a Wii, but like I don't know. When did the Wii come out? 07? But like my family bought it really late. My dad like waited like 2 or 3 years, and it was like I guess $100 or less before he would buy it. Oh man, something like that. I got a Yu-Gi-Oh game on it, and I think in the first month that I was playing it, I got like 300 hours on it.
Wait, what Yu-Gi-Oh game?
Dual transfer or something. There's only like two. It was like during the 5Ds era. It's it wasn't the motorcycle, but
The motorcycle.
it like it had. Well, that was the era with the motorcycles, but
Wait,
yeah.
what was after that? That was like there was like an X fusion or something.
GX, yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh GX.
I remember watching it on Saturday mornings.
Yeah. Oh, that's an interesting topic. Anyways, what else? So, yeah, but like we for me eventually died out too. Played AQ Worlds on and off. I put money into the game. Sad. Game's dying.
That's what I was thinking about.
I also played this. Oh man, have you heard of Realm of God? Realm of the Mad God? No. Okay. It's a flash. It's I don't think Congregate owns it anymore. It's a different. It's been shipped around a bit between game platforms, I guess. But it's a interesting pixel permadeath class game. I don't how do I describe it? It's like a shoot 'em up. Um, yeah, it's like the amount of stuff on screen can be overwhelming sometimes because like the bosses and stuff can just like shoot so much
It
stuff
looks
out.
like a pixelated RuneScape.
It's much less sophisticated. There's like most of it is just like just shoot it up and like the way you get like better stuff. It's just like you just hope for the drops. There's not much you can really do. They've changed it over the years, but like man, that game it's permadeath, so it can be quite depressing. Oh my gosh, I've raged quite a few times on that game. Oh,
Okay,
so
okay. Good to
sad.
know.
And so yeah, I moved on from that game. It's just kind of bad for me. I eventually played this Chinese card game called Rise of Mythos. Interesting game. It was like It's not tower defense. I haven't seen like a card game like it before, and I think it's pretty good. But it was just super pay to win, and so then I got sad. It was here like I think it was this game where I found like an online community that I cherished the most in my pre-adult, I guess, gaming times. Like they had guilds and stuff, and like I was in a guild with like people that didn't. There wasn't a ton of like pay to win people in it, and like people were pretty nice and helped each other. And then one day, the owner of the guild like kicked everyone out, left his own guild to join like a pay to win guild. It was very sad. I was like, no.
Guild betrayals. That is quality 2000.
Man. Yeah. Oh, and then like I met like a friend there online, and we talked a lot. Oh my gosh, so bad. I I when I created my account, I put my gender as female. I didn't think I was gonna play too long, and I literally named my
You were
I
a
named
trap.
I named my character Sally G. It was
You were a
so...
catfish. Wow.
It was so bad.
Wow. Wow.
But I couldn't change. Oh, everything's coming to light.
It's the OG catfisher.
Oh my gosh. But yeah. I found one of my best online friends there. I mean, we don't talk at all anymore though. But like I use his like gamer tag now. So I was like, he was a cool guy. Sad. And then Pad. And then I guess I'm here. Oh man. Oh, yeah. So okay, you kind of talked about like your parents' interaction with you through the years, at least like through that Maple Story stage, but like I don't know how much they were on your case like after that, like with LOL and whatever else you were playing. Like, you know, especially the middle high school years.
After Maple, it was just constant throughout. You should be focusing on studies.
Oh, okay. Wait, like you, or is like that was your parents? That's what your parents wanted. Sorry.
That's what my parents wanted for me.
Okay. Wait, so did you like actually like cut down a lot?
Depends on the force used.
Oh, yikes. Yikes.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Okay. I think they would always like, for me, they would always nag. But like, as long as I was like doing well enough, they're like, well, can't really say anything, I guess. Because I would bring back A's.
Okay.
Until like senior year. Yeah.
So you're the good Asian boy, Asian son.
I don't know. Well, probably, yeah. I was quite subservient.
Oh yes.
Oh man. So, more follow-up questions. Right, like know we've talked about like you working so you can have like money to buy stuff, and I'm curious like how that like works in with like gaming and stuff, especially in your younger years. Like,
Hmm.
was when was like the point like you got your own PC, laptop, and like yeah, I don't know.
Um, yeah, that was pretty interesting. I think I didn't start working until 2 years ago. So, but that was always just like for my own use, for if I wanted to spend something without having to ask my mom for money. Um, she had like, oh, yeah, I looked up like laptops. I think I managed to get my mom on board with her purchasing me a laptop for college. Um, and I settled on a XPS, and I've just been using. I found like a good deal for it. It was like probably half the price of the retail, but it was refurbished. But it's been working for the past 3 years or so. Yeah.
Nice.
Um, so that wasn't through my own funds. In terms of like spending money for games, I think when I was younger, uh, in League, I definitely like would if I ever had the chance. But nowadays, I don't usually spend much, if ever. Um, yeah, back then I just thought, oh, this like cosmetic is like really cool or something, and like, wow, this is value. Like the amount of time that, like, amount of enjoyment that I'll get out of this like $10 thing, cosmetic skin, is like well worth the price or something. And nowadays I'm just like, I'd rather have like a good Chick-fil-A meal or something, or something. Um, yeah, I don't know. It varies from time to time. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. For me, yeah, I mean like you, I didn't work till even later than you last summer. Um, so for me, like wow, I didn't get my own. Yeah, I guess I didn't get my own laptop either until college, but uh, my dad's really cheap. So we settled on this one. I don't even know what it is. Well, that's part of the thing. I'm not a big
Yeah,
tech
it looks like an
guy.
antique.
That's
I'm
okay.
gonna be honest, Johnny. I'm
It's
surprised you don't
okay.
have back pains.
It's it still works for me. Um, yeah, there's not much to say. Um, but back to the subject. Well, I was thinking my parents, but it was like more my mom did let me purchase stuff in game with it, the purchase of in-game currency stuff. It wasn't like a ton, and it was more like around the birthday holiday times, and it wasn't really ever the random out of the blue instant gratification sort of thing. It was definitely more calculated on my part.
I'll get like a Christmas gift and a birthday gift. But more recently, well, I think when I first was young, it wasn't there. And then later it's like, oh, do you want anything for your birthday, Philip? And I remember like a few times, or one time I was like, I just want Cece's pizza. So we went to eat Cece's pizza. And then another time I was
Um,
like, I'm forgetting some Christmas gifts, but for my birthday, I remember I really wanted $10 in NX, which is like Maple Story premium currency. And so I just remember those are just a few times. But nowadays I don't really. I just say I'm fine. Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
This is pretty random, but it's still on the topic of gifts. I remember in the first grade, my uncle asked me what I wanted for Christmas, I think, and I literally didn't want anything. So I told him school supplies. so
That's
he literally,
yikes.
so he literally bought me all the like, I don't know, nice looking stuff or like the premium looking. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
cool. I have a bendy ruler now.
Hmm. I remember being envious of like peers. It's like, oh, they got that kind of pencil bag. Man, I wanted a pencil bag. Or like, yeah. I remember that there was definitely some clout with school supplies that you would get. Like, dude, that's a fire like 5-star binder or something. Ooh, man, I wish I had that. Yeah, Th- that's real.
oh,
Ah,
beautiful. Okay, we've been on the subject of games for a while. Over 30 minutes. Okay, it's your time now, Phillip. Educate me on keyboard. your hobby, your new hobby. I also heard some
oh,
things from Theo. That was really interesting about you, but go ahead.
here.
Huh?
Or what should I talk about for keyboards? I've just been. I
Oh,
think in I'll just share like how I got into keyboards. I um was obsessing over the iPad Pro back during around spring break of last semester, and I was just like, man, it looks so nice. Yeah, I was like making excuses for why I needed it. It has made it has been allowed me to be more productive, but it was definitely like the biggest privilege buy that I've had, I would say. Um, yeah, I mean, it's allowing for this call. um, but anyways, because through that, I was like, well, what accessory should I get for my iPad? I was looking at the new Magic keyboard, which looked pretty cool. But I was like, it's also really expensive. So I looked into keyboards. I was like, oh, I always thought it was mechanical keyboards look pretty cool. Like, and then I got into the rabbit hole of keyboards through that. Um, and I think I was like I found it odd. I was like, why am I so into mechanical keyboards? And I think it's just the idea of like being being much more into like the design process and creating something of your own. Because I think going back when we mentioned how like I started working and kind of had my own funds for personal use, there's a period when I was really into shoes, and I bought like a bunch of shoes, running shoes in particular, but also like lifestyle shoes like some Ultra Boost, Nike Epic Reacts, as well as like Pegasus for running, Zoom Flies. Um, so mainly Nike and Adidas, but also say like some Converse, Jack Purcell's, um, yeah, just other stuff. So it was like the idea I think behind why I like shoes was because I think they're cool. There's like different. I was really a fan of like the retro look for shoes, but like with shoes, like your main design idea is like, well, I purchase what I think looks cool, and so when I wear it, people can see like my kind of own style through that. But like you kind of looked for shoes that had different elements of design, and you're always looking for like what looks the coolest, but you could never choose to make your own because that's like you need machines and all that kind of stuff, right? Like, yeah, maybe you could try designing shoes and then maybe getting some people to notice through that, but like that there's a lot of investment through that, right? And so it not only was it costly, but like you weren't fully or even really part of the design process for shoes. You're just simply like buying them, you know? And so similarly with watches, like watches are even more so because the parts are so much more difficult to understand and they're much more costly. Um, so I was mainly into shoes and a little bit of watches. I really like this Junkers watch brand. I like a glass domed watch. Or Nomos is like the other much more expensive brand, but those are like really expensive watches. Um, and so then yeah, like looking into keyboards now, I think it was like, oh, I can like build this myself and like I can customize it to my own wants and desires. And like I'm not making the parts myself, so it's like I'm not making it from scratch per se, but like I can choose which parts I want into this build, and that's my keyboard. And I think it's very similar to like a PC build, or like why a lot of people are into building PCs, because like, wow, you know, I can buy the casing for it and how it'll look and like all that stuff. But building PCs are more expensive. There are more parts. Um, but yeah, it was also kind of like you can end up spending a lot of money as well building a mechanical keyboard. Um, yeah, I don't know. Then it's kind of like, is that really worth it? Is that good use of your money? I just think that like I found myself, especially now in this lockdown time, like I'm on the computer pretty long, and like you might as well have like a pretty good feeling keyboard if you're using the computer for long lengths. Um, but yeah, in terms of like why I think I'm so into keyboards, it's just I think it's really cool being able to have a hobby where you're like every part of it is something that you can change. So like the keyboard, what you usually know, the keyboard you usually think of are like membrane keyboards. So it's just like one board. It's pretty cheap too. It's maybe like $10. And yeah, it's just like one unit you can think of. But mechanical keyboard is more like each key is its own individual unit. And so yeah, I think that's the best way I can explain it. Um, and you can customize each part of the keyboard through that. So I think like a lot of people when talking about it is like, well, what functional difference is there? And there isn't really a functional difference. Like Razer and like gaming companies will say like, oh, you can get optical switches, which will make you press it faster and like it'll be like milliseconds quicker so you can game better or something. But there's not really a functional difference apart from just enjoying the sound and the feel of typing. That's really it with like mechanical keyboards, honestly. But there's a lot of like different materials make different sounds and different feels. It's like, yeah, I I don't know the best way to explain different things, but just like the keyboard itself can be different types of material, like plastic or metal, aluminum, like, but there are also different types in those, and those all produce different feelings and sounds, um, mainly sounds for the material. And then depending on like the mounting style of the keyboard, like some you screw in the stuff into the case, others like is you might add in like some rubber or things to between the screws to make it kind of like yeah, and then so the mounting style also affects like more so the feel and also the sound. So like if you like, I think you really need to type on a keyboard to understand. But like there you can be like a rigid experience, or it can even be like a flexible, like a bouncy experience. Like when you press down on the keyboard, it bounces with you, and so that's like more with like a gasket mounted keyboard. You can probably look online like for the different mounting styles for keyboards. There's like one good diagram that shows um, one common diagram that shows like all the different ways it's mounted. Yeah, it, I don't know. Like, the keyboard is like half of it. The other half is like switches. Like, this is like a switch, and so like the bottom has metal legs, and that is what the metal contact legs make contact to the PCB, which is like the electrical component of the keyboard. And the top part is like this yellow part is the stem, and the white or the clear and the black is the housing of the stem. And so the stem goes up and down, kind of like a key press. And so keycap would be on top of this stem. It'll be on the stem. And so you press down on the keycap, the stem goes down, and the stem makes contact with a leaf. And the leaf is basically the metal leg. And so as it like, it's like kind of like a circuit, it closes when you press down, I think. And so then that electrical output is put into the PCB. The PCB is connected to your computer and is what allows for the keystroke to be registered. But what you can do, so like the keyboard, the casing and all that stuff, the mounting, that's like half of it. The other half are these switches because there are different types of switches. There are linears, which are just like go down. They're just like one smooth key press. But there's also tactile switches which is more similar to like the membrane keyboards, where you feel like a bump. Like when you press down, there's a they in particular there's a bump that allows you to know that the key press has registered. If that makes sense. I think most membranes are tactile, but yeah. And then there's clicky, which is the typical stereotypical like gamer keyboard. Um, so like yeah, clicky switches are yeah, those are like Cherry MX Blues. Um, yeah, it's just really I can play some sounds to show the difference. Um, but those are the types of switches, and then like in those different types of switches, there are different materials used, and depending on the material used, some are more smoother than others. The friction coefficient is like lower or higher, and it allows for like a higher degree of smoothness. So that's like what into the feel, as well as depending on the different types of material, you get different sound profiles that the keyboard kind of accentuates. So like the switch is like the beginning portion of like where you hear the sounds, and the keyboard is like the other half where how the sound travels and is heard, as well as yeah. So the main thing once again is always like the sound and the feel of it. Um, yeah, I guess the design as well. Like keycaps, yeah. There's a lot of different aspects of the keyboard and accessories, and it's becoming a bigger community. I'd say it's been pretty small, but recently, if you look at the market, it kind of shows that it's been really supply is much lower than the demand for stuff. Um, but I can just give like a sample of like what I would really enjoy. I don't know. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just like kind of something that I was going for. It kind of sounds like to me like those ASMR videos where they cut soap. Um, but there are also there's a lot of different like sounds depending on yeah. And so like even if you change one variable, like one part of the switch or like a different mounting cell or something, it drastically changes the sound profile. And so that's kind of why like people like have end games, which is like what they hope to achieve. But that's also why people say end game is a myth, because your tastes are going to vary or like something's going to be off. Um,
Dang. Okay.
I'm sorry if that was like a little
Nice.
too much information.
That's good. That's good. You. I mean, it shows you really dived into the world. You really learned. That's nice. Yeah, you could just like feel your passion for it.
Oh my, that is embarrassing.
Why? Don't be embarrassed.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, it is also kind of like a privileged hobby, I would say, or like a luxurious hobby. Because it's not, the function aspect is very minimal, I would say. And so like in terms of like a necessity, it's not a necessity. Now, if you look at like my current like thing right now is like a laptop and then a mechanical keyboard. And so like the laptop already has a built-in keyboard, so I don't need it. But yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, it is true.
It's been pretty cool how like it has helped me with like I had a high school friend and neighbor called Daniel, and so we as we went through college, we uh, kind of grew apart. Um, but then like this past semester because of COVID, he came back, and so we were like, oh, we should like go for a jog sometime or something. And so as we went for a jog, we both or like we found out, oh, we're both into keyboards, and that was like really cool because like it's a pretty small community, and so it's pretty rare to find friends that are into it. And I think it allowed us to become close again. And so it's definitely much easier to get into the hobby if you have a friend who's also into it. Both with like just prices is cheaper as well. Because like there are things that you kind of need once, but like you don't need it like often. So if you guys can like share it, it's easy to share some stuff, and that like brings the price cost down for some stuff. Um, yeah. Getting into the hobby is nice with a friend, but it's also not too necessary.
Yeah. The power of hobbies and friendship. Wow.
Sir,
That's cool. Yeah, well, on your previous point about like this just being like a privilege hobby, I mean, this is a privilege hobby for me. Podcast.
I mean, you
Like,
could. I can see how you can use it for like actual life or making it
fair enough.
relevant in actual real life. I think that's what's happening a lot nowadays with people isolating at home. Like I started to listen to the Reclaiming My Theology podcast, and I think there are more people doing podcasts or resources in the form of podcasts with people just like having good talks about say like what does my theology say about BLM or COVID or other things. I guess that's more social justice, but I think a lot of it is good and can yeah is being used for good. Um,
Yeah, I guess like the privilege part for me that I'm thinking about is like equipment and like the quality of equipment that you would need at the bare minimum versus what you want. Because for me, I've started looking into that realm. Um, and I mean, I still have so much more research to do.
the funny thing is like with tech hobbyists enthusiasts, there is a pretty high chance that many tech enthusiasts in like one say like for example keyboards, if you're a keyboard enthusiast you dabble in PC, even mice, and being an audiophile. So I think there's like I'm in part of like keyboard discords, which is like a social media thing, kind of like Slack. And so like there's definitely like channels in it for like audiophiles and stuff. um
Mm,
yeah, that's the interesting thing. Like I could probably find some suggestions from people of like what are good quality budget, like say microphones. I think microphone is like the main thing, right, for podcasts.
Sure. There's a that or the audio interface. I mean, because I mean, I could just start off with like a USB microphone, but the more I'm like looking into it, it's like I should probably just
Change the
move
audio.
past that stage and like go to an XLR one and get that set up. Because I was also thinking like I could use it with music, just the same. But like, there's a much lower floor with just vocals than there is with singing and recording an instrument.
Right, some microphones are like good for like podcasts, but not good for singing.
Yeah.
Or even other audio things. It's funny because I was also thinking about looking into audio stuff because like a lot of keyboard enthusiasts like make sound tests of like their builds with like keyboards and stuff. And so like audio is like the main outside variable in like the true sound of the board. And so like they try to find like a consensus of like what is a good usage microphone stuff. It's pretty interesting there too, the overlap.
Interesting. I feel like they would want to condense your microphone. Oh, so much money. You can spend so much. Oh, okay. That's interesting. I didn't think about that point of tech going into branching fields of tech. That's cool. That's cool.
Kendrick about it when we had a discipleship call, because he knows a lot more about tech than I do, but he's been like dabbling in a lot of different areas.
I mean, it's his major, right?
Oh,
But
it's like electrical engineering, mechanical engineering.
yeah, I don't know, but pretty
Yes.
closely related.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I haven't really sat down, heard all this from you about keyboards. Just kind of like bringing it up and like we kind of joke about it.
Oh yes.
Nice. Well,
I mean,
I think
that's like
what?
the tip of the iceberg too. There's
Of
like
course, that was only like a 15-minute spiel.
that was 15 minutes. Wow.
It was, well, it was 13-ish, yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. Good to know.
Start your TED Talk.
I'm a newcomer as well, so I feel like there are like some newcomers are like, wow, I know everything, but man, there is a lot to know. And I think like it's also a lot of hobbyists are like mechanical or electrical engineers because there are like, especially with like the PCB or the electrical components of the keyboard, there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with it that is like, I don't know. Yeah. But anyways.
Yeah, learning something new. That'd be an interesting topic for another time. But it's almost 2 hours, so I think
Wow. It's been
we
two
should be
hours.
wrapping it up. Yeah. What? Did
Wow.
time fly by?
Maybe when I was talking about keyboards.
Ah! Yikes. Okay. Oh, let's make this thumbnail. Am I actually gonna try photoshopping? What is this? This is your head. Where?
So you can
What?
probably take a picture of you doing that thing.
Yes.
So you probably go like that. Yeah. And then take a separate picture of me just smiling or something. Like,
Yeah. Nice. Okay.
and then you just like draw the thing around my face and then
Yeah.
drag it onto that picture.
Yeah, I should be able to do this. Actually, I did this for a senior project. I don't know why. Dope. Okay. Well, I'm still recording, but thanks if you made it to the end. Bye bye.